Thank you, everybody. My name is Mike Turzai. I'm Speaker of the House of and the district I represent is in Allegheny County. Raised 3 boys, and I. She is of Irish immigrants. My dad is the son of Hungarian immigrants. Both of them have passed away. My wife, Lydia, she's a pediatrician. Her dad, his parents were born in Italy, and Lydia's mom was herself born in Italy. Her dad was an auto mechanic, worked hard. He's alive, my good friend. His wife, Lori, helped run that business. All of our parents lived all their lives in Allegheny County, other than Lori when she was born and raised in Italy and then came over. Hardworking people out west. A lot of hardworking people out there. But guess what? There's hardworking people all over the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And in particular, the 2 areas that have natural gas in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that is allowing for a growth in jobs tends to be the northern tier and the northeast, and also down in the southwest where I'm from. And many of our members here today that are part of the team are from those particular regions. It's interesting. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are amazing cities. They're amazing cities. And the growth of jobs that are coming from the universities and from the health systems and from technology, that's really great. It's important for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But much of Pennsylvania hasn't been able to be a part of job growth beyond the cities, the metropolitan areas. So what is going to allow us to grow Pennsylvania all across the 67 counties? It's the use of natural gas to the benefit of our citizens in terms of jobs, family-sustaining jobs, first and foremost, with respect to royalties, many of them being farmers in the northern tier, southwestern Pennsylvania. It's respect to the impact fee that we already pay, which is over, what is it, Gene? Where's Gene Barr, the head of the chamber? It's over it's well over 200 million. Well over 200 million a year, and we're over 1.2 billion, right, guys? 1.2 billion right now, since we passed that in 2013. Have any of you, this is what I want to ask you first, have any of you had the opportunity to get to Josh Kale's district, Representative Josh Kale, and where's Representative Jim Marshall? Where's Jim? Behind. Jim Marshall. Have you gotten to Beaver County where they represent? Josh Kale, Jim Marshall. It's in his district, but right next to his. Have you gotten to see what's going on at the Shell petrochemical facility, also known as the cracker plant? If you have not, will you please take a ride to go see it? Take right now. 4,500 trade jobs, and it's going to peak this summer at 6,500, including, by the way, all these great folks from Local 66 with the operating engineers. Yeah. Now, I wish I could say this was just us, but we're working with the private sector on this. There was a report put out, Forged to the Future, that Gene Barr, the head of the Chamber of Business and Industry, gathered up some leaders on both the corporate side and also on with the trade unions and said, how do we make use of the natural gas in a manner that we are with the petrochemical facility? It has, I believe, the 3rd tallest crane in the country and the 5th tallest crane in the country. And my understanding is it is the single largest construction site The single largest construction site in the United States, if not the world, right now. And you know, it's gonna make these plastics, right, from the wet gas. It's gonna take the byproducts, and you can use those plastics in aspirins, balloons, crayons, diapers, wide variety of other products. It is being built, by the way, on an abandoned manufactured site. It is not being built on green space. It's being built on a brownfield site. It's being repurposed right on the Ohio River, and it's gonna create thousands of direct and indirect jobs permanently in Beaver County. Now, you're gonna hear from Aaron Kaufler and Tara Toohill about the type of gas later that they have, and maybe they'd like to have a big facility where there's opportunities on a brownfield or an abandoned manufactured site. Because we're about jobs. We're about family sustaining jobs. And I see the Allegheny Conference, Stephanie, thanks for being here too. The Pennsylvania has realized significant benefits already, $45 billion to the Pennsylvania economy, more than 300,000 family sustaining jobs, billions of dollars in bonus and royalty payments. I think it's somewhere over 12 billion in royalty payments. It provides reductions in air emissions. We always forget that part. The use of natural gas actually reduces emissions. It also provides, who doesn't like a warm shower? Who doesn't like to take, you know, when somebody's baking out of the oven? The use of that natural gas has reduced the cost to the consumers by, I think, 2/3. Am I understating that? By about 2/3 the cost since pre-development of Marcellus Shale. That recent report says that as it relates to the development, if we have good public policies, we can generate a $60 billion increase in Pennsylvania's GDP, support the addition of 100,000 new jobs, and potentially increase state revenues to the tune of billions. We already have corporate taxes. We already have personal income taxes. We have sales taxes. And my cousin, I have a cousin that's from Tunkhannock up in the Northeast and is not involved with the Marcellus, but is in fact involved with timber, said, here's the key up in our community. All of the farmers who are getting royalties are buying new farm equipment, all buying new farm equipment, and there's real economic activity happening in those towns. Go compare New York, where there's a freeze on any development, and the economic activity that has begun to occur in Pennsylvania. Well, we want to make it better. And the first person we're going to bring up is Jeff Catula, president of the Washington County Chamber, and then each of the members is going to talk about their particular contribution to the Energize PA package that we're unveiling today. Jeff. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for inviting me today and to share the energy successes that we've had in Washington County. You know, in Washington County, we like to say that the power to prosper is right over under our feet. And that prosperity and that power has been driven by the natural gas industry for over a decade and a half now. We're proud that Washington County continues to maintain a leadership position in both our region and our state in creating new economic wealth, new job opportunities, and countywide expansion, and especially through our partnership with the energy sector. And we're equally proud that these successes are creating job opportunities for our residents, and we're happy to stand here today with you in the hopes that the entire Commonwealth will share that growth that we've witnessed in Washington County through Energize Pennsylvania. The growth of our energy community reflects the continued strength of our economy, especially as a leader in the country's energy independence. According to state data from 2018, shale gas production in Pennsylvania increased 14.2% over 2017, led by huge gains coming from Washington County. In total, nearly 90% of the statewide increase in production was due to Washington County's production growth. During the same time, Washington County ranked second in the state in natural gas production with 1.16 billion cubic feet produced from over 1,500 wells. We also ranked second in the state for the number of unconventional well permits in 2018 with 316, only second to our neighbor in the south, Greene County, had more with 334. Washington County ranked second in the region and third of the state for number of unconventional wells drilled in 2018 with 105. But these energy successes that we've seen have a direct impact on our local economy. For instance, Steel Nation, a company that builds pre-engineered metal buildings in the energy industry, consolidated its 36 employees to a larger new facility in Cecil Township in our county. Also, ground was broken in Alta Vista Business Park for a new building that will be occupied by 9 Energy Services on a 38,000 square foot building to accommodate the company's growth and increase the number of their employees to 125. These business investments continue to confirm that Washington County is recognized as an energy leader and as a premier location for energy and energy-related companies to invest in and to create jobs. And we want the same success that we've realized in Washington County to be felt across Pennsylvania. But while this power to prosper is under our feet, it does us no good to keep it there. And we must realize the full potential of our energy resources by investing in our energy infrastructure, encouraging energy and energy-relating companies to expand and locate in our Commonwealth, and position our state agencies to be partners in our success. And while we are excited about Speaker Turzai's legislation, we are not surprised that many of the members of the Washington County delegation, Representatives O'Neill, Kale, and Mihalik, are prime sponsors of this legislation. They have seen firsthand Washington County's positive energy impacts with jobs, investment, business development, and have worked tirelessly to ensure joint successes with our local governments, our communities, and our energy resources. Through this legislation, we hope to take that same prosperity and the impacts that we're seeing in Washington County and hope to energize Pennsylvania. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak today.
Folks, as I call up the members, I want to stress 2 important facts. Act 13 has the strictest regulations in the United States of America with respect to the extraction of natural gas. The strictest. That's when we did the impact fee, and that's when we put in the regulatory framework. Second, we want to use the whole point of the package is we want to take those abandoned manufacturing sites that are sitting all across our Commonwealth, unused, dormant, many of them brownfield sites, and turn them into family-sustaining jobs. And the first person, Representative Aaron Coffer from Luzerne County, up in the Northeast, to talk about his legislation. Representative Coffer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for getting us together here and helping create this package of legislation, which is going to have a profound impact here on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm excited for what has become the cracker plant initiative of what happened in Western Pennsylvania, for us to be kickstarting something up in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And I'm very excited because the initiative that we're putting forward would mirror what has been done in Western Pennsylvania. In Northeastern Pennsylvania, the Procter & Gamble plant in Mahoupany operates off the natural gas right below their feet and has expanded to be one of the largest employers in all of Northeastern Pennsylvania. What the opportunity with my legislation on the manufacturing credit that we're talking about will make sure that the cheap labor overseas that we see in China, that we can compete with it here in Northeastern Pennsylvania with our cheap energy. And we're going to take advantage of that. So we're going to be talking about not just where we're at now, but where we're going to be at for decades and generations to come. And with this piece of legislation, we will be making sure that it's made in Pennsylvania and using our cheap energy and the advantage that we have of our natural resources to compete going on into the future. I appreciate your perspective in bringing this package together and all the fellow prime sponsors, and thank you for having me be a part of this, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Coffer, we're going to see 6,500 of our trade, Pennsylvania trade workers up at a brownfield site in the Northeast if we move forward. That's the goal. Representative Natalie Mihalik, House Bill 1101. And this talks about a tax policy because you need to have investments to be able to move forward. Representative Mihalik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon, everyone. I represent portions of Allegheny and Washington County, and I'm so proud to be part of this Energize PA package, this legislative package that's going to provide an incredible amount of economic opportunity, not only for my legislative district, but for the entire Commonwealth. This package aims to attract outside and startup companies to help us grow and flourish. We have resources available to provide family-sustaining, good-paying jobs so that we can transform the economic status of the Commonwealth as we move through the 21st century. That is why I've introduced House Bill 1101 to raise the percentage cap on net operating losses. This is a way to encourage industry growth and to let companies know that if they make significant investments in Pennsylvania, that they will not be penalized by our tax policies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Josh Kale, where the petrochemical facility is, the cracker plant is, introduces House Bill 1102. Josh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you getting us here today. My name is Josh Kale. I represent the 15th Legislative District. 7 years ago, Speaker Turzai and other members in the House got together and had a legislative package that attracted the petrochemical plant here to Western Pennsylvania. And 7 years later, we see 6,500 workers at that plant, building that plant. 1,000 laborers, 1,000 iron workers. We have operating engineers there. In fact, we have a couple that are here that work in that plant. And it was because of that initiative, the understanding that if we're going to use and leverage the natural gas that we have and really take it to the next level for family-sustaining jobs, we need to attract manufacturing. And that's exactly what my bill does. It attracts manufacturing. It makes sure that we are using local workers to build local sites, and it streamlines processes. So that's what I'm excited about. My father was a laborer and a boilermaker. My uncles were laborers, and they talk a lot about the different buildings that they built and the railroads, or not the railroads, but the highways and the bridges that they built. What gets me excited and why I'm so passionate about bills like this one is I'm excited for the opportunity that these individuals behind me are going to have to build our future. And I think we're really going to have that opportunity if we do the right thing again like we did 7 years ago. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
And up in the Northeast, Representative Jonathan Fritz. Jonathan was a county commissioner before entering to the State House. So he knows a lot about what it is to have economic development up in the Northeast. And he's going to tell you a lot about what's happened up in Susquehanna already. Representative Jonathan Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to offer up a quick shout out to George Stark, Bill DeRosier from Cabot Oil and Gas, as well Corey Sprout from RHL Companies. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. Friends, these are exciting times for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are truly fortunate to have an abundance of an essential to life, an essential for business, natural resource underfoot. Clean burning natural gas has begun and will continue to fuel Pennsylvania's renaissance. Blue is the new green. And I'm proud to partner with my colleagues in the Energize PA initiative by bringing forth House Bill 1103, known as the Pipeline Investment Program, or PIPE, expansion legislation. My legislation will make grants more readily available by fostering construction of the last mile of clean-burning natural gas pipeline to communities, existing businesses and manufacturers, and pad-ready sites. Pennsylvania's opportunity is clear. You just need to travel to Susquehanna County to see it for yourself. It is beautiful, it is bucolic, and it is thriving. That opportunity is clear and undeniable. We simply need to tap into it. Thank you for your time, and good day.
Representative Tara Toohill. Now, you know, Representative Toohill leads our caucus on so many issues, and we're so appreciative of her leadership. Amongst other pieces of legislation that she has led on are important changes to making sure that for moms, that they have opportunities to have good daycare, and also on adoption services. She led the efforts with respect to that. She's from Luzerne County, an amazing lady. And she is the person that says, let's get these abandoned manufacture sites and turn them into jobs. Representative Toohill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues behind me, you touched upon a part when it comes to child welfare. That's my big thing. And it's really hard to ensure child welfare. Not even child protection is a whole other gamble we take and a whole nother problem. But child welfare, it's very hard when you don't have family-sustaining jobs and when families can't support their children. And that is a problem that we have in parts of Pennsylvania. And so I'm very excited to be here today. And this was the speaker, we had sat down in a work group and we had talked about areas that were underutilizing, abandoned mine sites, abandoned brownfields, parts of Pennsylvania that are there and they exist and sometimes no one even knows that they're there. And we had brought up the website. The speaker put up the website in front of all of us while we were working on this. And he said, here, look, on this website, there's gonna be a registry and it's gonna show people could come from all over the United States, all over the world, and they're gonna be able to see where in Pennsylvania we have abandoned mine land, old abandoned factories, and they're sitting on railroads. They're sitting on infrastructure, roads that are existing, sewage, water, it's all there. And he pulls up the website and we all look and we're like, oh my gosh, there's like five places listed on this website. So, and I was like, hey, I'm the queen. I've got a brownfield that's 250 acres sitting in the middle of Hazleton City. I would really like to be on your website. And so that's how this brainchild we had the speaker and his economics that he's always talking about, and you've done so much to bring Pennsylvania forward when you're talking about what's gone on on the western part of Pennsylvania. That was hard fought. That cracker plant, people had to dig deep, and that was hard fought, and you worked for that. And that was part of the economic plan to push Pennsylvania forward. And that was well before the national level here, where we've had 2 years of an excellent economy and job growth and unemployment going down. So I'm really excited. It seems simple and it seems like something that we should already be doing. It's House Bill 1104, but it is going to list these abandoned properties and they're gonna be there for development. We are open for business in Pennsylvania and we're very proud. We wanna dust the rust off of our part of the Rust Belt. We want to dust the rust off of northeastern Pennsylvania, and we want to multiply the workers that are standing behind us. We want thousands and thousands more of you. So welcome to Pennsylvania, and we're open for business, and we're really excited. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for including us.
We're so blessed. I mean, this team, they're so dynamic, these young folks. I'm the old guy. And Representative Eric Nelson, sponsor of House Bill 1105, he made sure I got this right. Nine years as a Marine, right, boss? Yes. And once a Marine, always a Marine. Yes. Yes. And you know, he had this idea that he brought to everybody at our workshop. This was Representative Nelson's idea, and he said, I gotta go dig into this. Lita, where's Lita? I saw her earlier. From the Environmental Resources and Energy Committee worked with you on this, right, Representative Nelson? Wait till you hear his great idea here. He's going to tell you what he wants to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your leadership and initiative helping to drive jobs and work for Pennsylvania. All of us really appreciate what you're doing. You know, from my perspective, I'm a big jobs guy and I'm a private industry person. And in private industry, we take a look at our pain points and then we seek best practices in order to eliminate those pain points. And one of the largest problems that Pennsylvania has right now is our permitting process. HB 1105 is a consolidated standards permit bill. And what it does is it takes a best practice, like from the state of Ohio,
where right now, oftentimes a challenge that employers have is that when they try to implement and work on a site, they can't get their permits approved because there are multiple permits needing to be approved at different times. And so for 9 years now, since 1994, in Ohio, they've implemented a consolidated standards permit, and that allows for an employer who wants to repurpose an abandoned or a brownfield site to seek one permit. It doesn't change the expectation. It requires those government agencies to work together and approve a permit on time, 120 days. Because when a permit doesn't get passed, their calendar gets bumped back, and that costs Pennsylvania jobs and works. So I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to implement a very common sense, reasonable best practice consolidated standards permit. Coming soon to you.
Representative Mike Turzai represents Allegheny and Washington counties, and he is the force behind the bill. It's about process, not about standards, about process with respect to how we permit. Doesn't change any standards. The standards are the standards, the permits are the permits. But listen to his ideas. He's given this a lot of thought. Representative Mike Turzai.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you here today. I am introducing legislation House Bill 1106 that reforms the permitting process currently operated by the Department of Environmental Protection. Every single one of our members that stand behind me here today have been contacted by a business or a worker in their district that is having a difficult time obtaining the permits in a transparent and timely manner. Well permits, which have a 45-day deadline, have begun to creep well past the 200-day mark. The Erosion and Sediment Control General Permit, which has no deadline for authorization, is currently taking 6 to 8 months, if not more. Air Quality General Permits, which have a 30-day authorization period, now take upwards of 100 days for authorization. How do we expect our businesses to be able to deal with such unexpected delays? In the private sector, time equals money, and we shouldn't hold our industry or private sector partners back. This is why I've introduced this common sense legislation to bring about enhanced certainty, predictability, and professionalism in our environmental permits within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And our regulatory predictability and certainty are key components in attracting investment to Pennsylvania's energy-enabled economy. I thank you all for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, last but not least, our colleague, Representative Tim O'Neill, Army, right, Tim? Yes. Okay. Creates really a different paradigm. Again, process, not standards with respect to the permitting. All the permits are still in place. All the standards are the same. Act 13 made them all more tough. But how do we improve process? And I think Tim's going to tell you also how we improve protecting the environment with this approach too. Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for the kind introduction. I'm Tim O'Neill. I represent the 48th District in Washington County. And as you just heard from both Representative Turzai as well as Representative Nelson, the permitting system in Pennsylvania is broken. For far too long, the DEP has been overly burdened by the administrative function of collecting applications and approving permits. This legislation will alleviate DEP of that burden. The department consistently cites staffing in the permitting function as the reason why. My legislation, House Bill 1107, establishes the Pennsylvania Permitting Commission, an independent commission of 5 governor-appointed members, which are confirmed by the Senate for a term of 10 years, among other items. The extraordinary situation in the Department of Energy Protection requires an extraordinary solution. House Bill 1107 is a win-win that will accomplish 2 goals. It will allow business a stable and predictable solution to plan for future work, and more importantly, as the speaker mentioned,
It'll actually allow DEP to focus on their actual mandate: protection of the environment. This legislation will allow increased field enforcement by the department and ensure that their resources are not expended on the permitting process. So thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to this legislation coming to fruition. Thank you.
As many of you know, the Department of Environmental Protection, and Representative Neal was explaining this, has really right now 3 functions. They have to actually enforce the laws and regulations, the statutes and regulations. That is its, as Representative Neal said, that's the #1 important thing from DEP. You have to have somebody that's out there doing enforcement. 2, rulemaking. DEP actually has rulemaking responsibilities. Very important function too. Permitting, and he said appointed by the governor, approved by the Senate, something akin to the Public Utility Commission. Permitting, same standards, same permits, but designed to just focus on that and bring a level of expertise. That's his idea. All of these are component parts of trying to get us additional energy opportunities, manufacturing opportunities that provide family-sustaining jobs like the ones that Local 66 has out in Western Pennsylvania. These individuals are from the counties throughout southwestern Pennsylvania: Fayette, Washington, Westmoreland, Allegheny, Mercer, Clarion, Indiana, Butler. All of those counties these individuals live in, and they want to see more work throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We want to team up with other locals of all kinds of trades to provide these jobs. It's a creative approach. Look at the success of the cracker plant, 4,500 jobs right now. And guess what? That site is going to generate its own power, a total of 250 megawatts per day. And 1/3 of that power is going to be exported to the grid. We are about growth. We are about jobs. We are about people taking care of their families. Representative Tuhill, I don't think anybody could have said it better than you did. I think it's just outstanding. Thank you for being with us here today. I do apologize. We are going to have to get back to the floor. I've extended a little bit longer than we have. Let me take a few questions, and then we need to get up to the floor, and my apologies. And we'll be glad to take questions later on a one-on-one basis with anybody that has them. Sir, go right ahead.
Is this meant to be a counterpoint to the governor's Restore PA initiative, or is this something you're looking at completely different?
It's an outstanding question. It was an idea that collectively a group of us had to move Pennsylvania forward. I think in large part it has three like starting points. One, the Forge to the Future report, which was commissioned by the chamber. And we needed to see movement forward with respect to the ideas. We wanted to make them tangible because they talked about all these job opportunities across the state. Second, it is the building of the cracker plant, without a doubt. If you drive by there, you're there like, oh my goodness, if this is happening in Beaver County, why isn't it happening in Luzerne County? Why isn't it happening up in Mercer County? Why don't we have it in Fayette County? Representative Tuhill said it so eloquently. If you have family-sustaining jobs, you alleviate the dependence on government. People can take care of their families. These jobs in building this facility, 6 figures, many of them. And the permanent jobs are going to be direct and also upstream and downstream. And then if you bring the manufacturing facilities to make use of the product, think of all those jobs. And our goal is to work with the private sector and the trade unions to make sure that they have the opportunity to do those jobs. That's not to mention the administrative assistant or the marketing person or the engineer or the accountant. Those people all have important jobs to do too. I think those 2 things were so crucial. Does it stand in stark contrast to Restore PA? Yes, it does. It wasn't designed to do that, but it has 2 different visions for Pennsylvania. One that says, let's grow the economy and make Pennsylvania an open door. And let's in particular focus on those abandoned sites that we have all over the state. We're not talking about green space. We're talking about abandoned sites. And let's bring energy facilities and manufacturing facilities to those brownfield sites. Yes, please.
So on the sort of comparison, contrast with Restore PA, there was mention of infrastructure improvement here. Can you put a finer point on how that would happen in this plan?
Yeah, the last mile, and talk to Jonathan about that, because Jonathan Fritz, Representative Fritz, he'll know the details about it. I do not, I have to say, so I'm going to turn it to him when if you could get a one-on-one. He'll explain exactly how the last mile initiative works. Sir.
Ballpark fiscal impact of the entire package.
Well, there's no tax increases. There's no changes to the regulatory permits. It's just process. That's all we're talking about is process. I don't see any fiscal impact except the one piece of legislation is the tax credit and the Keystone Energy Zone and the last mile.
Are there any parts of Restore PA that you're on board with?
We are not looking to penalize. We don't want to penalize. We want to grow and work together. It's just two different visions. We want to see actual growth in opportunities, and we think that the private sector will lead the way with the package that we put forth on the table.
I know this was someone else's legislation, but the permitting board, won't that require funding? Is that going to be taken from existing agencies?
Oh, yeah, no, correct. Yeah, there would be, and keep in mind, Act 13 provides already increased funding. Act 13 increased by $6 million money that went to DEP for permitting purposes. And in addition, as you know, the fees have increased. I know it's like, what's the fee number now? I mean, it's like exponentially increased what we're charging for permits now in terms of the fees. And that was designed to go towards the cost of the permitting process too. Yes, but you are absolutely right. To professionalize a commission type approach will take some increased dollars. But if you maintain a growing economy, you'll have those increased revenues. With that, I'm going to have to wrap it up. And to all my members and to our guests today, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, everybody.